Okay.
Be careful what you say now. Will's just turn on the microphone.
Yeah.
All right, that works.
I will.
Yeah, it's just in from a tough day down the coal mine, so we're all good to go though.
Good. Well done.
Hi, Alan.
Evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Evening on.
Hello.
How are we doing?
It'll be all right if I can get the reflection off my glasses.
Uh, I find that Zoom keeps changing the way the layouts are on the screen.
Box in the top right corner.
Or maybe it's a different kind of Zoom we're using or something. I'm not sure.
I do think that's sometimes the problem.
Yeah.
I think it is a different Zoom, actually.
Yeah.
I think I had to do things to get at it. Been there before, like.
They keep upgrading it and updating it, and there's lots of fun things you can do, putting hats on people and stuff. But I won't do that tonight. Maybe next time.
That's if it's okay to record it, etc. At least I got that. I was asked that. So.
Me too. Don't know I've ever seen that before.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to mention it, but no, that's good. If people have seen that, I don't need to mention it.
And I see there's a little red flag showing, William, that you're recording it.
Yeah. That's the plan. Yeah, I'll mention it at the start anyway, just when we're getting rolling.
Very good. Garrett has a rather nice picture at the front on his Zoom.
Yeah.
A rather grand house.
It's like a church.
Well, it might be.
It's Hakeley Manor. Hakeley Hall.
Where's that, Garrett?
It's in Carrick-on-Shannon, just upstream from Carrick-on-Shannon.
That's the St. George house, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
My middle name is St. George. That's all.
Should drop in on your relations for tea.
I'm not sure that they are related, but there you are. They were a fairly grand West of Ireland family at one stage.
Weren't we all?
Very good.
So, Garrett, is that your handiwork?
It is. Yeah, that's
very nice.
Yeah.
You sit on your boat on their jetty and just draw it.
Well, not quite, but I did take the photograph first.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
You can't see it. You can't see it very well anymore. So that was taken nearly 15 years ago. It's very overgrown.
Oh, wow.
Here.
See, Cillian is there now.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Evening, Cillian.
Yeah, evening, Cillian. Hi. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, yeah. Hi.
They'll all come in after the Angelas.
Yes, Alan.
There's Ellen.
So we'll hold off till about 5 past anyway, and before we get rolling. Oh yeah, that's cool.
There are a lot of silent, non-video people there too.
A lot of silence, full stop.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I noticed we're clashing with the Munster game, but I'm sure people won't be too upset if people use two screens.
Not going well anyway, so
Oh, okay.
turnover. Yeah.
It's, I haven't.
Depends on which side you're on, I suppose, doesn't it?
Who are they playing?
Saracens.
Oh, okay, that's a big ask. Yeah,
Who are they playing?
said Saracens.
Saracens.
I think we're good.
They're playing against Saracens and Thomond Park, apparently.
They're losing six.
Losing 6-0.
no.
Sounds like the troubles.
That's two Dickson.
Another couple of minutes, Will, yeah?
Yeah. We'll just give them. We'll give it 5 just for anybody joining late or whatever, or and then we'll kick off. Yeah.
Okay, it's just a message going on.
That's me blowing up your phones. Sorry.
Sophie.
Yeah.
Did that pipe get fixed in Lough Ree?
Don't know.
Somebody's still down there with their finger on it, I hope.
Yeah. I didn't want to suggest that on the WhatsApp, but
That pipe is mysterious. It seems to have been left connected when the place was plumbed, whatever way it was done, but there's absolutely no way of turning it off.
Oh.
Except you turn off the power, the pumps and
Did it go in the frost?
taps and bring down the pressure.
Yeah, it split in the frost with squirting water at them when it thawed. It was, great debate about it earlier on.
Probably get going, Will, yeah?
Yeah. Let's get started.
Before we do, Will, just a little bit of housekeeping just for the annual report is being prepared with huge effort from Eric and Mavihil again to get it completed, and it's now gone to the printers, so we should expect to get that out in the post to members in the next couple of weeks, and then following this, it'll be available to download on the website. For those of you who want a hard copy of the report, and I know a lot of people did this last year, it's important that you go into the website, you go into your profile, you go into the basic information about your name, address, etc. And at the bottom, there's a tick box saying, I want a printed newsletter, I don't want one. And you can tick either way, and then that's how we mail. And we'll send out an email on that just so people are clear on the instructions on how to do it in their profile. I said it was done last year, but for anyone who didn't do it or for any new members, we can do that. So that's item one. And then the second one is our annual dinner. It went out in our last newsletter, but for anyone who missed it, the annual dinner is on the 1st of March this year in the Royal Irish Yacht Club. A change of venue. It has been for the past few years in the National, but it's been moved now to the Royal Irish Yacht Club. And again, tickets are for sale on the Soda website. That's it. So Will, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Carl. Just want to welcome everybody to the first of our Soda Zoom series for this winter. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Plan is to mute everybody during the presentation, and there's a little chat box down the bottom of the screen. So if you want to put specific questions forward, if you could put them on there, we'll go to them first at the end. But at the end, we'll unmute, allow everyone to unmute themselves for their chat and questions and what have you. As mentioned, this is being recorded, so if anybody objects to that, they can leave or whatever. Anyway, I'm delighted to welcome Cillian Dixon, who is going to present us on his J24 adventures. It's Headcases Odyssey, 5 years of J24 sailing around Lough Ree, Europe and America. And I'll just take a second to switch over to him and we'll run on. Okay, okay, that should be over to you there, Cillian.
If Cillian's talking, we don't hear him.
Okay, what's happened?
Okay, the mute button, my enemy yet again.
Great.
So, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And thanks very much for having me. I know this isn't strictly a Shannon One Design that we're sailing, but there is some crossover, so hopefully you'll find it interesting. For those of you that don't know, Headcases is a J24. It's co-owned with myself and 4 other guys. We basically had a kind of somewhat drunken conversation probably 5 or 6 years ago at this stage, I think at Cork Week, and we decided let's buy a boat together and let it be a J24. There's a bit more background to that, though, is that we were all spread out all over different parts of the country. So myself and Sam were in Dublin, Ryan was in Belfast, and then later in Dublin. Marcus was in Cork, and Louis was in Mayo. So the only solution, and really there'd be no presentation, or there would have been no head case if we couldn't have used Lough Ree's crane and facilities to get the campaign underway. So that's kind of how the idea became a reality. And we got the boat and we started campaigning it in Lough Ree before we kind of went and did all these very nice events all over the world. So first off, a thank you to Lough Ree Yacht Club for, facilitating all of this. So I'm going to start off. I'm just going to take you through kind of the different kind of eras of the boat. So from early days, and then some of our kind of first forays into Europe, and then more recent years where we have also gone to the US. We were in Seattle earlier this year for the World Championships. So sorry, sort this out. Okay, so the first problem was to find a boat. Obviously, you want to find a fast boat, particularly with the J24 classes. You want a boat with pedigree. New boats aren't necessarily faster than old boats, so we wanted a boat that had done it all before and that we knew we could rely on. And we really, really didn't want to do a whole lot of changing to the boat or boat work. So which is ironic, and that'll become present more obvious as the presentation goes on. We ended up with a boat called Headcase, which is actually a very famous boat. On the right is a signed and permanent marker down below on the bulkhead by Ken Reid, who won the Worlds twice in it. It was one of the first, I think it was the first J24 to win the Worlds twice. And since then it was sold into the UK and it won the Europeans maybe 5 or 6 times. So a very good boat. We found it in Kinsale and we brought it up to Lough Ree at the start of 2019. So this is us on our first spin out in front of the club, giving her a first proper shakedown. At this stage, we were really trying to learn the boat. Myself and Sam had done a lot of J24 sailing, but we'd taken a break from it and we'd probably forgotten more than we wanted to. So a real return to kind of Sunday sailing that I would have done all throughout my youth. This is us, I guess, trying to hoist a kite, trying to get the muscle memory with Dad recording from the rib, or from the speedboat. So like really nothing had changed since my Oppie days. We were back trying to put in the hours. So after a while of kind of many weekends where we would have literally the whole crew would have come to Athlone, stayed at my parents' house, and we would have worked on the boat, gone training, come back in for lunch, worked on the boat, and gone out training again. And we probably did that at the start. We probably every second weekend was down at Athlone. So my parents were never officially asked if this was okay. They just started having a gang of J24 sailors showing up at their door every other weekend. So I have to thank them at this point as well, particularly Mum, who did a lot of the catering and putting up with us. And this is a photo that Dad actually took one of our early training sessions out. This must have been January or February. The light's really low in the sky, and yeah, great shot to have. We're still on the UK numbers that came with the boat then as well. We then took it out for our first event in Lough Ree, which was very windy and really showed us what we were, how ill prepared we were. I don't know if you can see my pointer, but we're the boat kind of second from the right, about to put up our kite. And then immediately we go into a broach. So it all looks quite good and smooth now and glamorous, but it wasn't always. So that was actually our first event ever with the boat, and I don't even think the event was completed. It was cancelled because of the wind. I think this race was abandoned shortly afterwards. We weren't the only one having issues. Kind of around that time as well, we thought we'd basically bought the perfect boat with a fantastic record, one that we could just step into and win. We really didn't want to do boat work, but we were also finding that there was problems with the boat. The deck was spongy. We'd stand in certain parts of it and you'd spring up and down. So this is a reminder for everyone that the J24 is like the Shannon One Design is a wooden boat. It's balsa core, and if the balsa gets any moisture into it at all, it just spreads. So we ended up with a lot of wet balsa under the deck. And this is a video of Marcus removing that so we can put fresh balsa in. So this was one of the first big jobs we did. On the left is the full section. So there's I think 2 or 3 sections that we had to scoop out, but this was the biggest. And then on the right is us glassing in new balsa. And this is us mid-repair covering the balsa with filler, trying to get it to look like a deck again. And looking much better, the finished job. So all that time wasn't wasted. We still had a chance to get to know the feel of the boat, even if it was indoors and on shore. And that brought us up to the Nationals at the end of 2019. So we had done all the Irish events throughout the year, and we were gradually getting better and better. The Nationals, the way the ranking, the qualification for the Worlds in 2020, which were in the UK, worked out is we had to win the Nationals in Lough Ree in order to be able to go, because we'd missed some events at the start of the year while we were working on the boat. And we did that just by a whisker. So I think this is us in 3rd place over on the right on a windy day in Lough Ree, managing to keep more upright this time. And here's us post victory. So in kind of a recurring theme, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It wasn't all glamorous events and wins. On the left is the point of impact where our keel hit rocks just the far side of the red nav in front of the club. So just testing the depth there a little bit, and that on the right we've got the repair. So we had to repair the front edge of the keel, and there was cracking in around the top of the keel, which we didn't take all the way back. I think we were able to call a boat builder who advised us that the repair would be fine as long as we didn't hit rocks again. But spoiler alert, we couldn't stay away from the rocks. The second time we're up here on the long shoal. So I don't know if there's sound on this. If not, it's probably a good thing. That's us hitting rocks for the first time. And then, yeah, very cleverly, we turned around and sailed back over the same rock and hit it even better this time. So we gave the boat a good bang. And again, there was cracking on top of the keel. On the left, we've got, when we ground back, this is a hole straight through from in front of the keel all the way to Ryan, who's standing up at the cockpit there. Our job was basically very comprehensive. We peeled back all of the deck floor and reglassed in around the bulkheads there. Because there was cracking, it was quite a big hit. That wasn't the only boat work we did at the end of 2019. We also had a go at the hull and reshaping the keel. The quote on the left is when you buy a fast boat, there's usually kind of notes with it. And one of the notes that Bob Turner, who won the Europeans multiple times with the boat, had given us said, whatever you do, don't touch the keel. It's perfect. It's on minimum. The measurers know all about it. Don't even tamper with it. So already we were off to a fantastic start there. So coming into the 2020 season, we had put in hours and hours of work on the boat. This is her after the respray, looking absolutely beautiful and ready for a very successful campaign in 2020. Like I said, the Worlds were due to be held in the UK, and we had our eye on that as kind of like a target event for us. But then COVID, so that kind of put paid to things for, I think, the next for 2 years pretty much. We still did a bit of sailing, and we did kind of more kind of fettling to the boat, but nothing really then, or no, the campaign didn't really begin again until 2022. So in that sort of time, it was announced that the Europeans were going to be in Howth. So again, this is like this was a peak championship for us. So we, those of you that don't know, like I would have sailed in Lough Ree all the way up uppies, mirrors, lasers, all the way up until I went to college. And how I got into J24s is I started sailing them in Howth Yacht Club on their youth development program. So this was like that was a big event that we wanted to target. We thought we could do it very well in the Europeans. And in order to reach that by the end of the season, we had a pre-season in both Lough Ree and Howth. And then we did a big trip where we basically went all around Europe to a few different events, the ICRA Nationals and the Irish Nationals as well, to give us lots of time in the boat. So here's a few photos of our early season training. We have Andrew and the team on Jeb putting us through our paces. Finbar Ryan in the rib there, calling the starts and setting exercises for us. And then on the bottom right, we held a J24 training day for the class, training weekend for the class, where I think we had 8 or 10 boats come and talk through the boat, run exercises just out in front of the club. We then went on to Howth, the venue for the Europeans. We wanted to put in the hours there. And at this stage, we kind of knew things were coming together a bit better. We went out on a very windy day, and in contrast to that first event in Lough Ree, we were actually able to handle the boat. So here's some fun downwind footage of speeds you probably shouldn't be going in a J24. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was kind of showing us that all of the hours we put into the boat were kind of paying off, and we could see the improvement. We were ready basically to go and test ourselves against other top J24s. So we did that. We then had what was the big trip at the time, taking us from to Kiel, the UK, and then back to Cork. The first leg was the boat being shipped to Rotterdam with a van. I think that takes about 36 hours. So we shipped it, and then a day later we flew into Amsterdam, picked up the boat, and drove to Kiel for Kiel Week. Which is, I mean, it's a very prestigious regatta. All of the top crews go there, but particularly for J24, as it's kind of one on the list. From Kiel, then we drove back to Rotterdam and got the ferry to Harwich and drove the boat down to Plymouth for the UK Nationals, which I think were maybe a week or two later. So we all flew home in that time and went back to work. We did the UK Nationals, and then very ambitiously we decided we wanted to do Cork Week after that. And that kind of makes sense because we could get the ferry to Rosslare, and there's just a short hitch across to Crosshaven to do Cork Week. The logistics were all lining up, but the one problem was that the UK Nationals finished on a Sunday and Cork Week started the next Monday morning. So that was a very tight turnaround. We got I think we dropped the mast on the way into from sailing in the UK. Put the boat on the trailer immediately. I think we made them have prize giving earlier so we could get on the road and get an overnight ferry into Rosslare. So coming into Kiel week, like we were completely unknown in Europe. It was a new boat. I think myself and Sam had kind of sailed against some of the boats before, but they wouldn't have known us. So I think all these Germans came over and saw an Irish boat entered on the entry list and probably thought, not a problem, we'll beat them handy. But it didn't go that way. We went out and had a great start to the regatta. I think we won the first 4 races, and while we had some less consistent results towards the end of it, we ended up Kiel Week champions, which is really, really cool. Like it's not often you get to spray champagne on a podium. It's definitely one of those bucket list events to get to. And we also learned some new skills. So on the left is a photo of us stepping the mast by hand without a gin pole, which is a German trick that we learned and saved us loads of time in the future as well. We also went to the UK and became the first Irish champions of the UK Nationals since 1978, when Philip Watson did it, I think, in the first edition of the event. So bridging a very long gap there for the Irish J24 class. Could I take a break there? I just want to go get a glass of water, if that's okay. I see nods, but yeah. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we had a great event in the at the UK Nationals. It probably wasn't the strongest UK fleet, but I think we still won 7 out of the 9 races. But in those 2 races we didn't win. We were a bit down the pan, and one of our English competitors noted, which we didn't give much credence to at the time, was that we were very fast, but we were very inconsistent. So, which was a bit of foreshadowing for what was going to happen later on in the season. So, having won the UK Nationals, and going to Cork Week, where we won the Iker Nationals, we then went on and won the Irish Nationals, and we were getting a bit of recognition. So we were no longer kind of an unknown quantity. We were probably favourites for the Europeans in Howth, and probably a probably deserved tagline. We'd beaten pretty much all of the boats we were due to sail against. It was also our home club, Sam, or one of our home clubs, Sam, who is on trim, grew up next to the club, so we were staying in his family home. We'd got there, we'd taken the week off beforehand. The boat was in perfect condition. We'd been out training loads, and on paper it might have seemed that we were all set just to romp home with it. So it was a great event, and we also had other Lough Ree participants. So Finbar and crew on Gelignite on the left, and Andrew and crew on Jeb on the right were also representing Lough Ree quite well. Ultimately, we were very inconsistent. This is a photo of us being called over on the start line. We're the boat 4247 here. Not exactly where you want to be in shot, full view of the committee boat. I've got our score line from the event written down here. 2, 19, U flag, 3, 2, 1, 19, 1, 1, 24. So we'd won the most races out of everyone. We'd by far the most number of podiums. We had 6 podium finishes out of 9 races. that were to be counted. But we'd really blown up in the other races. Lots of kind of poor fleet management. Unfortunate stuff happening, like the U flag. We also hooked the chain on the pin end in one of the races, and recovered to finish 19th, which wasn't bad, but ultimately actually didn't end our chances of winning. So we were only 7 points off the lead in the end, despite all those high scores. If we finished 24th in the last race, if we'd finished in the top 17, we would have won. And if we averaged 7th in every race, we would have won as well. So this was like a very early learning for us. I think even at the time, it was pretty devastating, because we just kind of invested all this time going to all these events, getting the boat ready. We learn how to go fast and win races, and we thought we'd given ourselves, we pretty much thought we couldn't have done anything more to win that event. And at the time, I think we finished 5th. It really felt like, we'd no other avenues to turn to in order to like improve and get this shot back. And on top of that, this was we did it in Howth, where we had kind of I had visions of kind of winning, and it would be like a full circle moment for the K25 squad, which is where we started doing J24 sailing. But it wasn't to be. I think it took about 6 months for us to actually have a conversation about what went wrong and what the next steps would be. And but we dusted ourselves down and we got ready for the 2023 season. And while I'd said we'd just gone on the big trip, this was the big trip. They'd set up the European Championships and the World Championships, so they were 2 weeks apart, one in Hungary and the other in Thessaloniki in Greece. So it was all setting up for basically a really long European road trip. 3,000 kilometers in total to get to Thessaloniki, actually slightly more, which we'll come to in a few minutes. I took 6 weeks off work. Marcus ended up taking a year's career break so he could do it. All of the lads chipped in and took time off, so we were this was a big one. So up first was the Europeans on Lake Balaton, a notoriously fickle light wind venue. They basically don't get any wind in the summer, and we were there in the height of summer. And also high temperatures, like the air is 35 degrees, the water is 30 degrees. You try cooling down by going for a dip in the water, but you don't end up getting any colder. The event started with actually wind on the first day. So this is from the first day when there was enough wind to start a race. I think we were 4th in the first race. The OD was trying to get things maybe a little bit too perfect rather than getting the races away. So the next race we got off, the wind actually died. We were leading. We were like 100 meters from the finish, and it was abandoned. And we were sent into shore. They managed to get one more race away that evening. So after we were sent back out, and they did like what was the equivalent of racing in front of the club in Lough Ree for that like evening race, which we finished 4th in as well. Over the next 2 days, there was basically no wind. They send us out to race. There'd be a puff of air. They'd start a race, or else there'd be a general recall, and it would be abandoned. So this happened maybe 5 or 6 times. They only got one race in, and we didn't get off the start line. We were 12th. So with only 1 day racing left, we were like miles off the podium, albeit with a big discard. We did get out on that final day late. Wind came in, and while the OD was like really particular at the start of the event about the races, he wasn't then. He set one race off in super light wind, which we won. At that stage, I hadn't realized that meant that if there was another race, we'd be in a chance with winning. But the other guys had done the maths. And This is one of my favorite photos of the boat. This is us in the second race. We're leading. I don't realize it at the time, but if we win, if this race finishes, we win the Europeans. But the breeze dies down to like basically nothing. Everyone except for myself or Louis is pretty much down below. And we're already a bit traumatized by that race on the first day where they abandoned it moments from the finish. But they didn't. We got across the line. Sam and Ryan are celebrating in the middle because they know we've won. I don't know we won it, but I'm celebrating because I think it was a great race, and I'm just very happy that everyone else is very happy. And Marcus up the front here has just spent 20 minutes down below on a J24 in 35-degree heat. He thinks we've done terrible because whenever he's sent down below, we're not doing very well. So the joy came later. So this is us cooling off back ashore. So that was it. That was we had, I guess, a very short break to enjoy the win, and then head on to Thessaloniki, which was supposed to be a 12-hour drive. We were going to do it in one go. But the problem was we were leaving the Schengen zone. We managed to squeeze our way into Serbia with a bit of kind of plumossing the customs guards who didn't quite know what to do with a J24. But when we got into North Macedonia, it was a solid no. They wouldn't let us do. We didn't have the right documents for the trailer, and it was just a no. There was no talking to them. So what turned out to be a 12-hour what was supposed to be a 12-hour trip actually turned into getting all the way to North Macedonia, turning back, going to the Bulgarian border point and over the mountain into Sofia, over the mountains into Thessaloniki. And we got into Thessaloniki, I think, 24 hours after we left, of pretty much continuous driving. So there was a bit of time. I think there was 2 weeks between getting there, or maybe a week and a half between getting there and the World. So I think myself and Marcus stayed around and we did a bit of holidaying. And then after that, it was the rest of the guys returned and it was straight back into it. So a couple of photos here. I think the bottom left, we've got us laser aligning the keel to the rig to make sure everything's straight, which was a trick that we'd kind of been refining, and I know a lot of other boats do it as well. On the right is a picture of us coming in after racing. And on the top left is a photo from Groundhog Day, and this was kind of the joke of the event because everything was becoming so routine for us. Every day kind of felt like the same day. We'd get up, we'd have breakfast, we'd have a briefing, we'd go sailing, we'd come back in, pack the boat away, get something to eat, and end up relaxing and going to bed, which was a good thing. It was in stark contrast to the Worlds in in the Europeans in Hoth, where we were a bit more tense. We didn't, I think, probably had like more nerves. We're kind of feeling the moment rather than, or feeling the weight of the event rather than like living, rather than being in the moment and just going out and doing the races. Thessaloniki was an amazing venue. The sea breeze would kick in at 2 o'clock every day, so we'd have late starts but guaranteed wind in beautiful conditions, which was very nice after the tricky week in Balaton. We ended up, we had a really good event. I think we really fancied our chances going into it. The kind of unknowns were that there was a couple of American boats coming that we hadn't sailed against before. But we learned our lessons. We sailed really conservatively. I think we'd started kind of coming third in races, which is something we hadn't done before. And we hadn't really put on very many big scores. We ended up going into the last day of the event, the last race, with a chance to win it. I think we had to beat Keith Whitmore by 7 points, which was maybe improbable, but definitely not impossible. I think he'd like finished 19 in a race before. We knew we could do it. And that was us in second place going into the final day. It wasn't to be. We just had some things out of our control go out of the way on the start line, and we never really made it back from there. We ended up dropping to fourth overall. But importantly, we won the Corinthian World Champions. So here's the Irish flag being raised with the anthem at the Thessaloniki Yacht Club. So yeah, that was great. We were only beaten by professional crews, and we also knew we could do it, or we still know we can do it. We haven't done it yet, but we know we can be in contention at the pointy end of a World Championships. Which leads us on to 2024, right up to present day. So we still did lots of Irish events at this time, but I'll just highlight the kind of the big events we did. We had the Europeans in Porto in Sardinia in July, and then the World Championships in Seattle in October. So this is our route to Porto ferry down to Bilbao, driving across the north of Spain, and then another ferry on to Alghero, and then a drive across the top to Porto top of Sardinia. So in contrast to the previous year where we'd taken a lot of time off work and we'd done a lot of prep in the venue before the event, we actually didn't do any of that. We literally just arrived. We hadn't sailed. We'd taken a big break. We hadn't sailed together at all that season. This was our first time, all 5 of us in the boat. But we made a strong start. Porto is a very famous racing venue. It's pretty much guaranteed wind every day, sometimes too much wind. This is us here. This is our hoist out of the at the top mark on the first day. We went out, I think we had a Dad will remember, but I think it could have been like a 2-1-1, and then we might have had a bad race, like a 12th or something. And that's why Dad would remember it. So that was the first day. The second day was really windy. It started probably around 20 knots, and I think by the end of the day it had gone to 30. So while the Italians are the local boats, all their top crews sail near Rome, which is like very light winds most of the time. And we had already done our heavy wind training, as you saw in Hoth, and we were really prepared for it. So there was 3 races on the second day. We were by far the fastest boat. I think we could have started anywhere in the line and sailed past everyone. In terms of speed, all our boat handling was on point, and everything just came together really, really well. So windy weather, but in beautiful, warm conditions, Porto. And this is just a shot of the Porto skyline on the last day. I think we had over 50 boats. And then I think, yeah, this is us. This is a bit of boat work or boat handling. Us coming around the top mark on the windy day and straight into a jibe set. Which looks very easy there, but we'd spent tens, maybe hundreds of hours trying to get that move right. We also had a shore crew for this event. Ellen, Marcus's wife, and Luke Malcolm, who's a friend of ours, helped us. Were a huge help, and this is how they welcomed us back to shore with the Irish flag on top of a big bit of wavin. So champions again, are back-to-back European champions. I think probably one of the themes of this is that campaigning a J24 isn't all smooth sailing, pardon the pun. It's actually so much of it is about the logistics, getting from A to B efficiently, knowing what to do in a crisis. On our way back, we halfway across the top of Spain, we broke down on the motorway with the ferry to catch in less than 12 hours. I think the Bilbao to Cork ferry only runs every like 3 or 4 days. So if we missed it, we were going to be stranded for a while. And after probably about 4 or 5 hours of phone calls trying to find a mechanic who'd work on a Saturday, we finally got a tow truck to come put the car on the back of the truck and tow the J24 to a mechanic who worked through the night while myself and Marcus slept on his couch. We got a tap on the shoulder, I think around 7 a.m. That the car was running again, and we pretty much woke up, got in the car, and drove to the ferry, and just about made it. So part 2 of 2024 was our trip to Seattle. So the US is the home of the J24 class. We'd learned from the event in Greece that they have a little bit of an edge. The world champion seems to always be American. They are very fast. So going to see the Worlds in Seattle was a big box to tick for us to go and test ourselves against a mostly American fleet. So we had a charter boat, actually quite a very good charter boat, but it required some work to get it up to the headcase standard. So we spent the week before working on the bottom. There's a photo of us on the left sanding off the copper coat Balto plate anti-foul to get it to 2000 grit, which is quite messy, and we're absolutely covered it on the right. Here we are again aligning the rudder and the keel, and basically trying to replicate everything on headcase from deck layout to feel and everything. And it worked quite well. We did a couple of days training with Travis Odenbach, who was the eventual world champion before the event, and we held him and we were pacing with him. We were faster than him at times. At times he was faster than us. So from a boat prep and boat work point of view, we were really kind of in a good place. We were very happy with the boat. It didn't quite go to plan. We had a good event at times, but it just didn't click for us. It could have been maybe like the working very hard the week before to get the boat up to speed, or potentially not having a shore crew, so we weren't maybe eating as well, or it was taking us longer to do other stuff as well. So it didn't come together for us. I'll come back to that one. We had as kind of like when an event isn't going well, sort of other things start to happen, and this was one of them. Off the start line, we were hit by a local boat who put a big hole in the side of us. We didn't know there was a hole until we got around the windward mark, when we'd already taken in quite a lot of water. But we knew we were in America to race, so we went into shore straight away. We lifted the boat out and did a jury rigged repair, and I think we only missed 2 races. We were out for the last race of the day there. So very agricultural, but it got the job done. So this is us still smiling at the end of the event. It wasn't the finish we'd hoped for, and for all the work we put in, but it was still a great event, and we learned so much from the US class, and we had so much hospitality from the local fleet. Particularly Matt Vaughan from Easy Street, who put us up and took us under his wing for the week. He's the owner of the local record store, so we got to go to a few gigs as well, and a baseball game, which was great fun. So that's it. That brings us up to today. We have a big season coming up in 2025. The Europeans are in the Netherlands, where hopefully we can go for 3 in a row. And we've got the Worlds in the UK, which I think we're really motivated for. This is kind of like as close to a local event as we're likely to get for the next while. So that's coming up in September. And then back to Ireland and back to Lough Ree, where it all began for the Nationals, which we have, I think, on the 26th to the 28th of September. So thank you very much for listening. I don't know if there's any questions or any comments. I've kind of been talking to myself for the last 40 minutes, so happy to have any input from anyone.
I think we're all muted, so we can't clap and thank you.
That's okay. I'll imagine the clapping, but no, thank you very much for listening.
Senior squad.
Oh, so now everyone can unmute themselves now. So yeah, no, that was fantastic, Cillian. I still have your screen up there, so rather than people, but yeah, really enjoyed it.
How's that?
Yeah, no, that's back there, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, no, really enjoyed it, and I mean, it gave a real insight into what's involved in competing at that level, from hopping off rocks in the long shoal to the travel and the teamwork, and it was it's probably good for us amateurs to see you broaching early on, and the kind of the process involved in improving and reaching those levels. So yeah, it's thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. Anybody else out there? Any questions for Cillian?
I think a few comments coming in the chat. I see John Malone is trying to get the SB20s a mention. Any comments on how it compared to your SB20 campaign, what your lessons learned from that are? We had a great time campaigning the SB20, but I think ultimately the difference between the two boats, I think, is one is weight. We were always trying to get down to weight in the SB20, which is less fun, whereas on the J24, we're always trying to get up to weight, which is fantastic. It just means you have a great time all the time. You can eat whatever you want. And the J24 probably suits us better in terms of you can do a little bit more with the boats rather than being strictly one design. There's kind of tolerances, and you want to make sure the boat is on the correct side of all of those tolerances. So.
Cillian, it was a fabulous presentation, and it's really superb to see a fellow with the ambition to come out of Lough Ree and get to Greece and Seattle and so on, and top of the fleet racing. It's absolutely fabulous. Well done, and keep at it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think I'm sure there's lots of other sailors coming out of Lough Ree as well, and there will be lots more in the future. So, plenty of opportunities there.
Great. Well done.
Could I ask where are the Worlds this year, Cillian?
They're in Plymouth, so it's the same location where we won the UK Nationals in 2022. So we know the venue.
So you'll have a big advantage with your own boat and a shore crew as well.
Well, we still have opening applications for the shore crew, John. So if you're free and yeah. We actually thought in the States, we actually thought the charter boat was faster than Headcase downwind. We'd always been sticky downwind in Headcase. We'd get to the windward mark first, but we couldn't shake people off. And in Seattle, we were just absolutely walking away from everyone downwind. So the charter boat wasn't a huge disadvantage, and we're currently trying to figure out what we can do to change headcase to get the downwind advantage as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
John is asking any ideas why. I assume that's on the downwind. The current school of thought is the keel. So basically, there's a former America's Cup designer who sails the J24s in Seattle, and he designed a J24 keel. That a lot of the boats that win the Worlds have used, and we're currently looking at maybe changing our keel shape to be closer to that one. So, but it could be anything. It could be something entirely different that we haven't figured out yet.
So is there much difference between the boats? Like, I mean, in terms of the one design, there's obviously a bit of flexibility, but you know, so the perception would be that they're very much a one design, but there's obviously a bit of flexibility there, isn't there?
Yeah, like the class started off as pure one design where you couldn't change anything, but as the boats get older and people have to do repairs, they kind of gradually rewritten the rules so that you can do a repair, but it has to be finishing within a tolerance, not too dissimilar to Shannon One Designs. So if you're talking about the keel, there's like minimum and maximum thicknesses. So you need to decide, do you want to be on the minimum, do you want to be on the maximum, or do you want like a profile that goes in between them? And pretty much every part of the boat has a tolerance like that.
What about sails, Cillian? How often do you change sails, and what are found to be the best?
It's a bit of a monopoly on the J24 sails at the moment with Norths. My own view is that the J24 is such a well-established boat that a lot of the top designers actually make very similar sails, but North make a good suit of sails, and they also make sure all the top sailors are using them. So we generally, for each of our big international events, we try to get a new suit of sails, and if not a full suit, at least a Genoa. And then the way we do it is we try sell it on after the event, so you're not spending all your money on sales. You're kind of just taking a hit to get the fresh set each event.
Okay. And anybody else anything to add or anything to? The Andrew's face, but he's not saying anything.
Can you?
I can. Yeah. Yep.
You can hear me? Yeah, perfect. Sorry. Not in Ireland at the moment, but just a fantastic presentation. Like Cillian, really a big inspiration to all the youth sailors coming through from Lough Ree, you know. And I suppose I had one question from a friend, and he was just wondering is Cillian joining? When is he planning to join the sod fleet?
I'd say, Andrew, I was a sod sailor before you were a sod sailor.
Oh,
I think we've done a switch.
Not too soon, no. I can switch back, you know. No, great presentation, Cillian. Great presentation.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get back for an event this summer. I don't think I did one last summer, but I've definitely raced against you recently, Andrew, in sod, so not too long ago.
Yeah. I don't know where you get a fast sod in your shed, anyways.
We have a bit of trivia about the J24 as well, in that between the 2022 and 2023 season, we were replacing out the coach house roof at the same time that Dad was doing a bit of a refit on the 73. So there's actually a bit of the 73's transom is now in headcase. So maybe that's the secret in winning the Europeans in 2023.
I love it. What's happened?
I think we're coming up at 7 o'clock anyway, so
Yeah. No, I think we call it. I thought that the audio went there. I thought something had happened. No, just a huge thank you to you, Cillian, and the pints are on me next time you're in Ree. Just a plug for the other Zoom calls. The Sunday the 26th we have Barry Hayes doing a more SOD specific talk on the lead in sale making, what it is and why it is so important, with focus on the Shannon One Design setups. And then on the 15th of February, we have Reggie Goodbody doing a talk on from Ballina to Balik and back, a voyage on the inland waterways, which are obviously very different themes to tonight. But the big thing is to a huge thanks to Cillian, and I suppose to just to say to enjoy the weekend, and time for a pint.
There you go.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks
Well
for having
done.
me.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cillian. Thank you. Goodbye.
Ian.